Hello everyone. Welcome to another live stream for from Corso Workshop. I'm Kurt and I'm very happy to be here another Sunday and host this live stream. While we wait for a few people to join, I'm going to finish up what I'm doing here. Essentially what I'm doing is moving the buckle on a shoe. It's not mine obviously. I wear higher heels. No, it's not mine. I basically this shoe strap is a little bit too loose, so I am just moving the belt a little bit backwards further in so that it should sit a little bit more snug on the wearer's feet. I'm just tidying up, just finishing up. Just need to sew another buckle on this, so and just clean up the remainder. But we should be done in a second. And today we're making a really cool item. I believe it's quite cool, something that I've wanted to make for quite a long while, and I've been promising my brother that I'll be making it for months now. I'm making my brother a guitar strap, and I'll show you the guitar in a second. If you have been following me on Instagram, you'll see it in the latest story that I published. Um, it's a beautiful Ibanez guitar, and I'm actually quite a little bit jealous that he has one like that. I have a Fender Squire, which I am not really able to play. To be honest, I'm not much of a guitarist. I'm a piano player myself. Um, but yeah, there was a time when I was into guitars, and I got a Fender Squire from my grandfather. He gifted it to me. It's one of my most precious possessions. It's not necessarily the best guitar in the world, but it's mine. Okay, so okay, this one. Just finish up the other buckle. I'm not going to show you what I'm doing here, just a simple stitching part. And while we wait for a few people to join, I'm just getting this started. Excuse me? Hey, hello, up is our atelier, also known as Melissa, one of my closest friends. Welcome to the live stream. I can't say much more than that, but you'll be seeing more of Melissa in the future if you follow me and my works. So yeah, that's something interesting. I cannot tell you about it yet, but it's going to be nice. It's going to be interesting, and I'm pretty sure that a couple of geeks among you, such as myself, will quite enjoy the project that we have up in the making. So, so how is everyone doing? How are you, Mel? How's your weekend coming along? We've got quite a few more hours than I have left in the Sunday, so hope that you're relaxing, maybe making something, learning a new language. Okay.
Very busy with Welsh and the 19th and 18th century folk.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Melissa's learning Welsh now. She's a polyglot.
Going for one of the hardest languages.
Yeah, and that coat, I think, the same one that you showed us last time on our private chat. That's coming along quite nicely. So yeah, if you have a moment to spare, make sure to go check out Apis Aurea Atelier. Um, she's still starting out on YouTube, but she's doing very well. She's got a couple of interesting videos on sewing and tailoring and how to make stuff with cloth. It's really amazing. I highly encourage you to go follow her. Besides, she's a good friend of mine, and honestly, I would really appreciate it if you did go follow her. Okay. Okay, we're almost finished up here. تسفتح الباب تاع الجراج عشان ما نكونش نعرف نستور بيه. Just cut off the extra bit of string, and I can properly and formally start this live stream today. Everything.
Thanks. Did the final mock-up yesterday and today this is start the embroidery.
Perfect. Awesome. I really look forward to that. I hope you make a video about it because I'll definitely watch it. It's quite an interesting project. It's nothing that I would personally make. It's not my area of interest, but it's quite interesting. Okay, so done fixing up the shoe. Just in time, man. I was finishing up the shoe before starting the actual live stream, so okay. Now we don't need these just yet, at least. Let's clear up a little bit so I have some nice workspace to work on. تستطيع البيت me up, please. Thank you. Brilliant. Good. Okay, that goes there. That goes there. And that goes there. We don't need this just yet. We need it though. Not just yet. I might do some minor sewing today. Okay, so as you read on the title, today we're going to be making a guitar strap. Now, a guitar strap is something which I have never attempted before, so it's going to be a bit of a, feeling our way through the project, winging it, eyeballing it as we usually do. And that will ultimately, hopefully, result in something which is quite interesting. Let me switch over the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. And it might not be a project that we finish today. It might take a couple more hours than this live stream would actually permit. But if we don't finish it today, we can always continue it next time. And thank you very much, Melissa's very kind words as always. Thank you. So let me get a towel first. Make sure we don't scratch it up. A nice soft towel. Cool. Let's switch over the camera into the edit process as well. Cool. There we go. So workbench. And ladies and gentlemen, behold this beautiful Ibanez electric guitar. Beautiful model. My brother really takes care of it. As I said, quite jealous that he has this, but it's actually a very good guitar. And he's becoming really good at playing it. So there's also that. Yeah, cool. So there are some things we need to measure. First of all, we need to measure the total length of the strap. This is going to be a very simple project in the terms of fabrication. It's going to be a wider strap for a buckle. I'm not quite sure which kind of buckle I'm going to use yet, but we'll get to it in a second. So we need the buckle, the strap, and then probably I'm going to be making like a shoulder pad kind of thing. I don't think I will actually fill it with padding though I might put back it like one side with vegetable tanned leather and the other side with probably something like a sheepskin or something like that. I could try making like a small cushion of sheepskin. I've got some wadding here, so we'll see where we are when we get to that point and whether it's actually worth making something like that. Would be really cool if we did though. I'll be honest. I'm kind of leaning towards making the pad with the wadding. We'll get to it. So second measurement we need to take is something which we'll need later on down the line, is the thickness of this pin over here, which is where the guitar strap will go next to this other pin over here. So this is where the guitar strap is going to hook, and we need to measure it. So I don't have my vernier calipers down here. I have them up. Oh wait, do I have an extra set? I might. I'm a bit of a sucker for measuring instruments, so no, this is the digital protractor, but this is probably the vernier caliper, and there we are. Perfect. I have another set down here. It's out of battery, which is okay. It doesn't even have a battery in. That's fine. It's okay. You can use the regular stuff. So I just need to measure that the thickness of that pin, which is about 7.5 mil. So let's say we go for 8. Do we have an 8 mil punch? If we don't have any here, this is a 1/4 inch. What is it in inches? We could probably punch a 1/4 inch hole, but we'll see, because obviously we'll need to slot it as well, because it's not the thicker part is not going to go in, so we're not going to slot it, so it goes in and then hangs in tightly. Probably we can use the 1/4 inch punch. If not, I'm pretty sure I have another set somewhere which will have what exactly that the stuff that we need. So let's make sure that this is the same. It should be, yeah, perfectly exact. Okay, cool. So we need to start by measuring my. I'm going to work on my measurements, but it's going to be adjustable. So my brother is an inch or two taller than I am, so he's going to probably need a little bit more. But we'll figure that out. We'll just make it adjustable. So I'm just going to take this measuring tape. It's just a simple measuring tape, and I'm just going to sort of see where I can't really get it in camera. Probably can see over here. I'm just going to see like what is the best distance for the guitar. Okay, let's see. B. Okay. Okay, I think something like this feels okay. Okay. Now if we lean it against workbench, which is like the perfect height, we can roughly estimate about, I don't know, 50 inches, 52 inches. Let's go a little bit more. So 50 inches is the total strap length that we need. Thing is, I don't think I have a piece of leather which is 50 straight inches, but I'll see. If not, I can join it. Let's move this out. Let's move the balance out of the way. By the way, today we are joined by Chief. She's in the backstage, keeping an eye on the chat. So, hi Chief, and thank you.
Hello.
Cool. All right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Cool. I should have gotten some water. Oh, yeah, now we don't need to go there. It's fine. A bit later, perhaps. All right. So let's see what we have. What material we have to work with. We have, of course, a lot of scraps to make the pad from. We have this sort of sheepskin leather. I've got another piece back there, which is quite supple, very nice and soft. It's quite water resistant as well, so I would assume it would be also sweat resistant as well. So if you're wearing it, it won't get marked. Vegetable tanned leather, unless it is very properly sealed, it will mark with moisture. So something like this would be perfect, I think, for a shoulder strap. Okay, let's unravel our leather roll and see what goodies we have to work with today, because honestly I haven't taken stock of the leather for quite some time. I know that I'm due to order a little bit more soon. I have some other engagements and I need leather for them as well. For example, for any local viewers, that is Maltese viewers, will be hosting a bracer making session for archery at the Archery Malta range. A friend of mine, Ray, runs it. He's asked me to host a bracer making session there. So probably going to be about mid-August. We're still confirming dates, but if you're local and would like to have a go at archery, would like to have a go at leatherworking, we will be more than happy with what we have in mind, I'm sure. And we'll be more than happy to have you there. So, cool. Alright, this seems to be like the thickest piece of Vashtan leather that I have. Thickest and also longest piece. The others are quite short. And I think I want to make the belt out of this. This is thickish material, and I think the thickness of this is about the same thickness as the pin which we're going to be hanging it on. So I think it will be perfect for what we need to do, and also I've had very good results with making belts out of this material rather than thinner one. So here the question becomes, can we have a 50-inch? No, we have about 42, let's say 43. Let's go for 42, because we're probably going to trim off a bit of the end on either side, which is okay, because if you recall, I said I'm going to be making the strap in multiple parts. We're going to have the strap, a buckle, and then a tongue which actually attaches to the guitar and hooks into the belt. So we can actually use probably just one strap, hang the guitar off one end, and the other side will be a belt, and then we can add on from there. So I think we got quite lucky. Cool, so material is sorted. In terms of color, the guitar is black and brown. I'm probably going to be staining the strap brown and leaving the shoulder pad black. So if I also use the sheepskin leather, it's going to blend in the black vegetable tanned leather. The dyed part will blend in nicely with this part and it won't look like two mismatching pieces. So I think that's going to be a nice look. Now, the other question we have to ask ourselves is, if you will allow me just a minute, which belt buckle are we going to use for this project? Now, admittedly, I mostly have antique brass because most of my buckle work ends up on LARP costumes or that sort of thing. But I also have like these nice darkish sort of stainless steel ones, but these are slightly thinner. I kind of like these because they kind of gel with this look. I think these might go really nicely. They're a little bit darker than the actual chrome parts, but I think this blends in nicer than the actual excuse me, than the actual brass. Let's see, probably you would use a belt like this. I'm not sure. The guitar is over there. Chief is back there. You are. I think I'm going to use these buckles. Huh? Chief doesn't like being on camera. I think I'm going to be using these buckles. What do you think? Hmm? No, either or. Because I think this goes nicer with the more modern buckle. Good. We'll be using the more modern buckles. So we're going to be using two buckles. Okay, two buckles. I won't be needing any more hardware, to be honest. So that's sorted. Okay. Nice pair of brand new dark chrome buckles. They look a little bit more chromish on camera, I think, than they actually are. They're very shiny. And since, you know, this guitar gets wiped down very often, now my brother can also wipe down the buckles. Cool, okay, let's cut some straps. We needed the belt buckle so that we can determine our strap thickness. Now, we can do this with a ruler. It's about a bit more than, it's exactly 3 centimeters, but in inches would be about an inch and a bit less than an inch and a quarter. So I'm going to be setting this up in centimeters. I'm going to be cutting it slightly thinner than 3 because the way the leather is cut with this strap cutter tends to be a little bit thicker than I would like it to be, or wider rather. So let's go for 2.8. Lock it in. Okay. The opening for this is set perfectly. Yes, please. Thank you. And now we just need to cut straps out of this. Might have a little bit of difficulty getting started. Actually, no. Today is a beautiful day to get started. Brilliant. Last time I was having a bit of an issue. Cool. Let me see if I can do it on the workbench so you can see a little bit better. Basically, the strap cutter has a blade over here, so, and the gauge obviously is set a certain thickness, so when I drag it along, it cuts off a strap of leather. I've shown this a lot of times before on my videos, so probably may have never explained it though. It was quite a recent addition. Okay, that's one strap. Let's just make sure it fits into our belt. Oh, that's perfect. Just slightly thinner than it needs to be, so it's good. We'll make sure that that is quite nice and tight. Now that I think about it, probably I am going to be using chrome rivets. I have a bunch of chrome rivets which I can use with this, or I'm going to hand stitch it depending on where sort of the muse takes me. Okay, so let's clean up the edges, and let's clean up one edge first, and then we can measure 50 inches. Well, a bit less than that, I think 40 something. Like, we'll see the longest we can get this. Okay, nice sharp blade, one single cut, and that's one end clean. Let's clean up the other edge, the other end. Ooh, okay, good. Okay, so the strap is, let's see how long this is in inches. It's about 43.5 inches. Let's go for 43, so we'll make it a little bit longer. Okay, so we need about 7 inches of tongue at least. So that is perfect, because we'll make a tongue which is about, say, instead of 7, we'll make it 12 inches long, and actually make it 15 so that we can actually put on the buckle quite easily. Okay, so let's make a 15-inch tongue from the other part of the leather. Basically, I'm just cutting another strap, keeping the same setting so that it is exactly identical, or as identical as the leather will allow me, really. Okay, so I cut another strip which is the same thickness, same length actually, same thickness and same width. I just need to square off the edges again. Careful. Okay, that goes there. Perfect. We have two nice long straps. Let's cut. Let's mark 15 inches and cut again. So we need a second. Let's see which one has less variation in the color. I think actually this one has less striations than this. So let's use this for the tongue. So it has some defects over here. This for the tongue and this for the actual strap. Perfect. We don't need this for now. Store it. Perfect. Now, we said 15 inches. Oh, thank you very much, Chief. Stay hydrated. Okay, so 15 inches, roughly. It doesn't need to be perfectly precise. I'm just going to mark it over here. Okay. Let's try to get another square cut as neatly as possible. Just as a note, the underside of this ruler has rubber backing, so I can actually hold it. I can hold the piece, but also this part over here does not, so I can sort of slide the leather around as I need. Depending on what my cutting operation is, I can use either part. So this is the extra part. Good to keep this for later. You can use this for another small belt, for another strap, for another tongue, or for spurs should the project go awry, which sometimes happens. So that's perfectly fine. Let's work on this part. I think I'm going to be working on the tongue first. So what do we need to figure out? First of all, we need to figure out how far this needs to be out for the belt to stay. We also need, actually, sorry, we said the strap is on that one, so the belt is over there. So this we need to have a kind of English point. Now, this is a 1.5 inch, so it's a bit larger than the regular, than what you would use. I can use a circular punch. I have like a rounding punch in my toolbox. I kind of feel like this needs to have English points rather than rounds. I think pointy straps goes much nicer with this kind of guitar rather than round straps. So we're just going to be very careful. I wonder if there is a good way to sort of make sure that we are even on both sides. I think first of all we can take a couple of measurements. Let's test it out. So this is a 3 centimeter long, thick, wide rod strap. So 1.5 centimeters would be around about here. So that is where the point needs to go. Now, okay. Just trying to see the actual distance. So that's another 1.5 centimeter. I think it will give us a really nice. Let's make our own. Let's make our own template. I have an extra piece, so this is the same from last time. Same piece of paper. We can reuse it. It's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to fold it over so that it is symmetrical. Since I don't have smaller rounding English points. Okay, so we're going to take the middle point and we're going to say that it can only go about out by 1.5 centimeters. Okay, so because it's halved, so like that goes over there. Also mark it a little bit further down. Okay, so I think at this point I can. The thing with the English point is that it is flatter down the line than it is sort of curves in much more aggressively towards the point. So I'm going to try and emulate that. I think that should do. Perhaps go in a little bit over here and then it looks a little bit better. Let's see if we can cut out a template. So this is extra, and now we just need to follow our own line. Okay. We have our very own small English point, which we can use slightly smaller than our belt, but we can work off it and use it. Most importantly is the curve. I think that it is symmetrical. So if we do this, and then on the other side, I'm going to have to hide it with my hand to get it done nicely. Okay. I'm not very convinced, to be honest. So this needs to be a little bit further out. Let's see if we can cut it off with an X-Acto knife. Okay. This side seems to be quite on point, no pun intended. I think that's very decent. It's a lot straighter than I would like it to be, but it is not a straight 45-degree at least, so we can make this work. And now we can use this as a template for any other side that we need to do this for, okay? For example, I can actually do this for the other side, because I think I would like to have a point also down there. So just use the same thickness of the belt, and also use, let's use the scribe there and there. Okay, and now we can also cut this. This is a trick by Chuck Dorset from Weaver. See, on this side it is not even, so I need to actually go back and fix this. This was a trick by Chuck Dorset, where he didn't have an English point, I think, and then he made a template for it. It goes to show that you don't need the actual tools to make something looking similar. Okay, cool. What else? It is kind of even. Yeah. Okay. What else? What else? What else? What else can we do before we actually get to the stuff? We need to punch holes for this. We need to punch a hole for the guitar. I think we can start with that. So. Quartz or marble polyboard to absorb the blows, and cutting goes straight through it. Do we have a piece of scrap? We can get a piece of scrap from up here. Let me just have a look. It's good to keep scrap for this sort of occasion, okay? This is the same thickness of vegetable tan leather. I'm just going to check out the 1/4-inch punch, the number 9. Cool, and I'm also going to cut a little bit of a slit in it. Basically, I'm going to go from the center of the hole, and I'm just going to cut a little bit down as straight as I can. I try to just move the leather up towards the blade rather than cut down, and then I make sure that the end is flat and even. It's a bit of a longer slit than I would like to have, but we'll see. We might actually have to make it a little bit longer depending on the guitar. So let's see if we can make this work now. Let me just put the guitar here, and we'll see if this hooks on. It's a little bit too small, a bit too tight for the hole itself. So let's see if we can fix it. First, I need to determine whether it is an issue of the slit. So instead of a slit, I'm going to be cutting a V. Now using the X-Acto knife, you see, we can get you a little bit closer. Okay. Now what I'm going to do with the X-Acto knife, I'm going to cut out a V over there, and then I'm going to go in and actually cut it out because I just scored it. Okay. Okay. Now let's see if this works. Okay. I think we're still left with the problem that the hole is a little bit too small, so I might have to punch a bit of a larger hole. It's fine, I have larger round punches, so hole punches. think we can start with this 9mm. Let's see if this works. Oops, sorry, pointing view. Okay. And just to be safe, let us cut a 10mm hole. Now this is the largest round punch hole punch that I have, so if this doesn't work, I think we may have hit a snag and we'll have to rethink our project. Okay. Cool. Just clean the punches. And let's cut a slit. Same as we did, a little bit further down. Cool, same as we did, it's a little bit more rough, but you get the gist. Let's have a look. Okay. So let's test the 9mm hole first. It's, I think, a little bit too tight. Let's try the 10mm hole. 10mm. Oh, there we go. That's the perfect fit. Okay. So 10mm works nicely. You can see it on camera. It holds on nicely, and we have found our winner. Can take it off quite easily as well. I think on a thicker strap it will be perfect. So, woo, cool. Don't need these scraps anymore. Cool. This one we'll keep it for dyeing later. We don't need the number 9. Let's only keep tools that we're going to use. That way we make sure not to make a mistake, because if you punch a 9mm hole in the piece of leather and then need to punch a 10mm instead of a 9, we have a bit of a difficult time trying to get it cut quite nicely. You need to have a very, very sharp tool, and these are not exactly the best. So, I think I want it on this side. So now, when we set this, we're going to mimic this on the other longer strap, because one end of the strap is going to hook onto the other side of the guitar. So I think somewhere along the middle, somewhere here is about right. This is far forward enough not to take up a lot of real estate. Cool. Okay. We need to cut a slit. Here's the tricky part. Now I need to make sure I am as parallel to the edges as possible. One thing I could do, just to make my life a little bit easier, is mark about here. Mark that is around the middle. Okay. And that slot is the slot that I need to cut. Now that I have scored it, I have a bit of a visual guide. Okay. Now, is it as long as the one that we did? Because the one that we did seemed okay-ish. Yeah, it's about the same length. Good, just clean it up because we have a little bit of a double cut in there. What you need to do is just go in with an exacto knife, be very careful, and just take out the excess. Rub it a few times, that's good, we're good to go. Okay. Cool, now, this side will have holes for the buckle. But we can do that just now, and we can see what thickness holes we need. This seems to be the perfect size, but might be a little bit too tight. Again, having scraps is incredibly useful. So we're just going to... Okay, Zerbo, good. This goes in very nicely, as you can see over here. Okay, so this is the pin that will have on the guitar strap. Cool, so we can mark our holes and okay. So let us say we're going to mark them at 1-inch intervals, starting from the first one being okay. So this is going to be the first hole, and we're going to mark every inch or so. Let's say for about 6 inches. Last hole will be somewhere there. I just very lightly marked it so I can center it again, but it is pretty center. Okay, so I'll mark it there. Line up my ruler and mark a hole at every inch interval. Okay, cool. Now the greatest challenge is getting these centered. So we start with the first one. I like to sort of give it a little bit of a mark before I should go and start punching holes in. Okay. You can also make a quick jig for the press. I have a this press, it's very close up, but I have a press, and I could probably make a jig out of wood so that it will keep my edge on registration and fit this in the press and just get it punched out using the arbor press. I like whacking stuff with a mallet, so it's almost on a straight line. Just need to center the holes. Last one. Ooh, perfect. Alrighty. Okay, these are done. So I can just clean up the punch. Okay, so this is the strap which will go on the guitar side, and got holes on one side for the belt to go through. Okay, so the belt will go through here. Alright, make a tongue keeper for that as well on the other side. And also, this side is where the actual guitar will go. Now, I need to take one end and mimic this. So let's have a look at. Chat is pretty quiet today. Pretty quiet day. I think it's a lazy Sunday. Okay. Cool. Okay. We need this soon again. We can move all our paper templates to the side. Which side do I want to be the guitar side? This is a little bit more striated. This one not so much. I can hide the striations under the belt buckle, so I'm going to go for the nicer side this time. Oh, Cheers! Can you make me a coffee? I'd love to have one, man. Soon, hopefully, we'll soon be able to meet up. Okay. I'm sure we'll be able to meet up very soon. I'm also marking the hole and where it needs to go. Cool. Looks okay. And now we just cut it using the X-Acto knife. I could use the box cutter. I just prefer this for precision work. So okay. And now this side is going to start somewhere here, and that's pretty even for a handmade English point. We need that soon though. Okay. Another whack. Just need to line up my hole punch with the mark, which I made. Cool. We're done with hole punches now. At least with that one. Just to cut out slot, slit, whatever you want to call it. Just score it. Okay. And bring the leather up to it. Perfect. Okay. Coolio. Now, this side should fit also on the guitar side. This side definitely does. And now we need to prepare the other side for the belt. Once this is done, we can do the edge beveling. We can also start dyeing it. So while that dries, we can start working on the shoulder pad. Although I would like to take, well, I was going to say I would like to keep this to take some measurements for the thickness of the shoulder pad, but I can also use the extra part from earlier. Perfect. Now, leather belts, belt buckles require an oval slot. You can use a slot punch for that. You can punch 2 holes and then bridge them with a knife. And they also need 2 rivet points if you're going to use rivets. Now, I think for this, I am going to use, let's see how 2 of these look. Actually, these are the smaller kind. We need the larger kind. I have enough. So we have black rivets and we have chrome rivets. I think given the nature of this project, I think we're going with chrome. And I think I want to have 2 chrome rivets next to each other for this fastening. So we will prepare them for later. We'll keep them to one side. Okay, these are the chrome rivets which we will be using for this project. Nice double capped chrome rivets. Okay, and I actually don't use them often, so it's good to see that I am making use of all my resources. Okay, that can go there. And now that we have decided what we're going to be using for rivets, I can start making this work. Now here's the thing, this is not a center bar buckle, so it doesn't have the tongue keeper on one side, so I will need to make a tongue keeper. Thing is, I don't want to use a lot of leather. I don't want to give it a lot of leeway because otherwise this can sink in as far as this will allow it. I think somewhere in this area should be fine, and I think if I manage to sort of flatten it a little bit using the mallet, didn't leave many marks. I've also used a quartz, probably might have been a little bit better. Ouch. Okay, flattened it a little bit, and that probably is going to keep that in check. It will sink slightly, but not so much. Okay, let me see if I can. Probably want to make the rivets a little bit closer to the edge as well. So let's mark our rivet points. Can use a ruler to make sure that they are equidistant. So we're going to set them at about 7.5 mil from each edge and somewhere like that. I think something like this should do it. Now I'm going to be trying to poke a hole to the other side, or at least mark it on the back of the leather as I have over here. They actually poked through, so I can take these and complete the poke. And the poking is there. Poke, poke, poke is needed for hole punching. Okay. Between which we're going to put the slot punch. Now, this is a very long slot punch. I don't think I need it to be this big. So I'm going to break out my smaller, cheaper kit. And see what is appropriate now. This is a little bit too, oh, this is too tight. So this is the 183. This is the 184. Yeah, perfect. I think we're talking mils here, so. That is about the middle. I'm going to be eyeballing this. Okay. Cool. Come on. Come on. Cool. Okay. I don't need that anymore. We just need to cut holes for this rivet. Now keep in mind that these rivets, these hole punches tend to widen the holes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because last thing you want is to have one hole which is slightly narrower than the other. When you try to rivet them together, you're going to have a hell of a time. Not in a good way at all. So I think this is the right punch to use. We can also test it again. Another piece of scrap. And now we see that that is a little bit wide. So we can probably go for one smaller. This fits the rivet snugly. We'll have a little bit of a tough time, I think, capping it, but we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. Cool. Now, it also makes it a little bit easier for us to center our hole punches. Precision is usually not very important in leather because it stretches a little bit, but here I would recommend that you take care and be as precise as you can, because we are dealing with two holes next to each other and they need to look nice. Okay, yeah, this is the punch which gives me trouble. Just clean it out, because if I do not clean it out, I'll have some issues with punching. It won't cut the holes properly. I'm a bit disappointed with this punch though. Unfortunately, it gives me issues. Okay. Just cleaning it up for a second. Should be okay for now. Let's see if we can punch another hole. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. this one. Okay, if I fold it over, do these holes line up? They do, yeah. I think we'll be able to make this work. You can also poke an hole through. See, and that works just fine. Excuse me. In a second. Okay. For this part, I am going to round it because it's going to be hidden under the belt buckle. It just gives it a nice and professional touch. So we need a 30 mil. 20, 30. So you can also cut it a little bit closer. Okay. Like the offset, but that's fine. So for those of you just joining us, first of all, welcome and thank you for joining the live stream for Corso Workshop. Today we are working on a guitar build for my brother's Ibanez guitar. Just get it on screen because it is a real beauty. Here it is in all its shiny glory. And currently we are in the process of almost finishing the actual strap part in the terms of fabrication, because after this we'll start dyeing this. We'll just add a little bit of detail now on it, and then we can start working on a shoulder pad which can go and sort of slot through this strap so that it's a little bit more comfy. Now first of all, I would like to round all the edges except for this round piece over here. We'll be doing the rounding by actually beveling. I'm going to be using, I think this is a number 1 beveler. It's an edge beveler. What this does, it takes off the edge. Take the edge off the leather. So just put this away for now. So let's just leave it out here. I want to start from the end and work my way in. I'm just going to see if I can work a little bit more comfortably. Okay. Also going to edge bevel the English tip there, English point. Let's go to this side. If there are any questions or comments in chat from the people in the chat, please let me know. I will try to address them as soon as possible. Trisha, aka Chief, is also on chat duty today, so she's keeping an eye on that. So make sure that no one is left behind. Okay. It's also a good idea to round over the back, to edge bevel the back, so you have a nice and consistent bevel when you go to burnish the leather, and we'll get to burnishing in a second. Alright, we need to do the underside. There. Okay, and we'll do the small part as well, smaller strap. Before we get to it, I need to slightly Sharpen the end of it, and I'm basically just putting some jeweler's compound, or so known as jeweler's rouge. It's not really red, but it's jeweler's compound on a leather strop, running the edge beveler flat against it. Also helps sharpen that edge so it cuts much easier. Oh yeah, you can definitely feel it. Okay, we have 2 English points on this side, so we'll make sure to do it. Master Teacher making sure you do a good job. I mean, don't laugh too hard. The bullwhip would be on my bucket list. To be honest, I haven't tried it yet because I know it's such an intensive process. Have you ever seen how bullwhips are made? Like the Australian kangaroo bullwhips, like Indiana Jones has? You need to use, I think, 24 strands. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure, but you have to use such a high number of strands, and you can't have one long piece because there isn't a kangaroo big enough to have like a single strand which is that long. So they have to cut them in concentric circles. Yes, they take the kangaroo hide and they cut them in not the actual kangaroos, the hide that the leather. This is cow. So they take the kangaroo hide, and because it's the strongest, leather in the world, and they cut it in concentric circles right after it's tanned. And it also tapers, so it starts wider than it is at the tip. So then when you're weaving it, you need to keep a constant pressure, and the process takes, I think, longer than 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours. It depends. Adam Savage made that. Not just a plait. It's the way it's woven, and you have to release some tension sometime and then go back. I think it's like a 4-hour process or something like that for a master. To take me like 12 hours probably. Don't quote me on this, but it's quite a lengthy process. And then if you release tension, like if you release the pressure too early, you have to start over because you ruin it. You have to keep the tension. And Adam Savage, I think, has a video where he's talking about when he made his own bullwhip. He had contacts, like actual professional people who made them, so he called them up and sort of they walked him through it. Yeah, gave him the tips and tricks. But he said that his hands were like cramping up halfway through the process, but he couldn't stop. Can't remember which video it was, but I remember seeing it on Tested. Okay. I'm still. Okay. So I think I just want to add a little bit of detail. Probably in the. Probably I'm just going to have like a single line, like carved through this. Actually, not carved. It's actually going to be cut out using this. This is a stitching groover. What this does, if I can take like a piece of scrap, what this does, and set it at a different interval, like a different width, and it cuts out a line. I don't know if it's very visible there, but it gouges out a line, which you can then use for stitching, and then sort of the stitching won't sit proud, but also gives it a nice detailed look if used properly, like that part over there. See, it gives it a little bit of an accent. I think, however, I'm actually going to be reducing the gap. Let's have a look on another piece of scrap. Yeah. Let's use this. Okay. So if I take this, I think that it's close enough to the edge that it needs to be a little bit further in. Hmm. You don't want it to be too far in because then the lines will be too close to each other, but I think this is the right depth. Oh, a double line isn't so bad. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So let's do this first. Start with the smaller one. I don't think I will join them there. Well, I could, I suppose. Let's start with this one first. Okay, with the holes on either side. Hmm. Okay. I, I think that not too happy with that, to be honest. Not too happy. We'll see. Perhaps the dye will make it look a little bit nicer. It's a little bit uneven down here in the middle, which shouldn't be the case because the strap isn't uneven. We'll see. We shall see. Okay. So this part is done. Let's do the other part. It's important to give it a little bit of a twist towards the leather as well, so that it cuts out uh, neatly. Okay. Going to stop over there. Going to pull up. Let me cut it off, the extra bit, and then go back and this side. How are we on time, Chief? It's 10 past 5. We may be able to finish the strap on this live stream and then we'll work on the shoulder strap next time, which could be okay because honestly the strap might be its own project. Alright, cool. Kind of like it, but over here it's got a bit of a dip. I think this is where I paused slightly. Let me see if I can even it out a little bit. Yeah, better. Cool. Next, what's next? I think next is the dyeing part. So we need to dye all of this brown. Now, I have dark purple, I have cognac, I have another cognac, and this is another kind of cognac. Let's mix some dark brown in this one. This is this is a little bit more cognac, I think. Might be dark brown this one. Let's see how that looks. It's actually a nice dark brown. I wanted dark brown and black because that is a dark brown and black. So, but I think this is a good color to go with it. It might lighten up a little bit, but then we will darken it back with the resist. We can even antique it. We see that's a little bit too light. In fact, I'm going to use that batch. I don't have a lot to work with, but probably it's enough. And use a sponge brush, gloves, so that I don't make a mess over everything. Okay. Cool. Okay, let's start with the smaller strap and then we'll move on to the larger strap. A piece of rag to wipe off the excess needs to be at the ready, and I'm not sure whether I should wet the surface of the leather. I think I won't though. I just need to be very careful not to let it pool in any one place. So let's start with the edges. Okay, so okay. It's more of a cognac this one, but it's more of a darker cognac. I think it will go nicely though. Okay. Quickly. I will antique it, yes. I probably. Yes, yes. I will put it outside to dry. But in the current temperature and humidity that we have, it will definitely dry very quickly. So okay, let's do the front. Do one quick pass and quickly wipe off the excess because it's already drying, and then go back and give it multiple passes as needed. Hmm? Hmm? Yes, it's called multiple passes. The more you keep on dyeing it, obviously, the more saturated the color will be. And I think in our case, this is exactly what we need. Okay, I see that I want it to be oversaturated in the sense that it has too much liquid on it, not in color. And that looks like a very nice piece. You will notice that dye tends to accentuate areas where there are defects in the leather. I don't think it's very visible on camera, but there are like 3 streaks over there which are part of the leather. They were invisible before, I didn't see them. But they may have been like scratches which were incurred while tooling the leather, could have been scratches from before. Um, that's why whenever you're working with leather, whenever we're making like handmade stuff with leather, it's a bit of a surprise, like a bit of a mixed bag kind of thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, I'll be honest. I think it gives it character. There are people who sort of prefer their leather goods to have no defects at all, in which case I would suggest that they use veal leather, calf leather, not veal, calf leather. Yeah, baby cows. Yeah, and there's actually a reason for that. That's why it's the most expensive. It's the kind of best quality kind of leather in terms of like bovine leather you can get. Because animals tend to sort of get injured. They get bit by insects, and calves, being that they are younger, they don't get to have a lot of these insect bites, and the leather made from them would be of a much higher quality, less defects in it. They don't fight among themselves as much. So yeah. Not necessarily condoning the killing of calves, to be honest, but you kind of need to break an egg, break a couple of eggs to make an omelet, kind of thing. I'm quite happy to use regular bovine leather. Don't even use well, for most of my projects I use B grade leather. For one thing, it would have been wasted otherwise. And I don't like knowing that something like this, such a resource, will be wasted. And secondly, usually the defects on a B grade kind of leather would be on the back, the kind of, you know, the roughness on the back, which is, in this case, we're using a very good grade of leather, because it's not really that much ruffled on the back. Okay. Now, we can't do this in one single pass, so I'm going to try and be as quick as possible. To get an even coating. Then try to avoid areas where the dye can pool, or if you see it pooling, try to move it along, and or otherwise dry it off with a piece of rag. I find that that is the best way, at least in my part of the world, because it dries very quickly. It's ridiculous. We'll put it out in a couple of minutes, we'll be done. It's bone dry. Okay, let's add a little bit more towards the center. It was a little bit too hasty over here. And then still go over to the edges. Okay. Okay. It's got a little bit of a mottled look to it. I'm not too happy with the dyeing, so to keep on giving it another couple of passes, but it's probably the mottling is probably from the leather. Like as I said earlier, defects start cropping up once you actually start working with it and start dyeing it. So sure that the slot hole over there is nice and dyed. The other pieces we need to take care of is that these holes are properly dyed, and they are. This hole is properly dyed. I missed the spot over there by the edge. Let's go over the edges nicely. Be sure that they are done well. Okay, yeah. Slightly of a missed spot right there. Another piece back here, because once we apply the wax to burnish it, that seals it in, and we can't really apply anymore and touch it off unless we cut it open. We don't want to do that. Okay, so done with this dyeing process. Let me just wash off the brush. I'll be with you in a second. All right, so let's take this outside to dry. I think I can stay with the gloves on because we'll be applying resist soon. Just going to take a griddle out. Griddle will just to put the leather on it so that it doesn't touch the actual tiles. Okay, we can take a brief pause while that dries. Okay. Ooh, I can sit down for a little bit. That's cool. So let me switch over the camera. Huh. Okay, so while the strap dries off in the sun, it's in the sun outside, it's going to make it a little bit hard as well, a little bit tougher. So it's ideally would leave it to dry in a sort of shaded place like indoors or something like that. It's fine. I mean, I'm going to leave the back uncovered, so like the back is just dyed. I will apply resist to the front, so then I will let it hang for about a day to make sure that all the moisture particles sort of seep out the back side of the leather, the flesh side of the leather. Okay, it's a very slow process. I mean, it will dry from the top and you can keep on working on it, but the actual core will probably be a little bit moist even after, you know, keeping it in the sun where it is right now. I have a little bit of an announcement for next week as well. Next week on the 11th of June on Sunday evening, just a while after my live stream. Hmm? July, not June. Yes, we're in July. Sorry about that. Next week, Sunday 11th July, just a few while, a bit like a small while after my live stream finishes, I'm going to be as a guest as well on the Makers Waffle podcast. It's a video podcast hosted by Andy Pugh and Jamie Reeder. Brilliant makers, both of them. I've known Andy for a while now, since the first Maker Central, brilliant guy, and even Jamie makes some really awesome stuff. I'm really looking forward to being on that podcast next week. Hey, Skilltree, nice to see you. So yeah, next week, make sure that after this podcast you tune into their podcast. I will leave a link to their podcast, to their most recent one. And in fact, after this podcast today, I think they will have Daniel Wood. Wood, I can't pronounce his name, but they'll have Daniel on their live stream, and he's also a great guy. So make sure to go and watch that podcast later on. I will try to leave a link in the description. I don't know if Chief can maybe find the Makers Waffle podcast and share it in chat, perhaps make it a little bit easier for people to follow it. Yeah, she's on it. Perfect. So welcome. If you are just joining, we are making a guitar strap for my brother. My brother has an Ibanez guitar. It's right over here. I'll show it on camera in just a second. And yeah, we're about almost finished with the part one today. So it's going to be a two-part kind of live stream, or the first part is making the actual strap, which is more of a belt, to be honest, like an inverted belt. You'll see what I mean in just a second. We'll be using these buckles. These are like sort of darkened chrome buckles. They're very nice. We'll be using them, and chrome rivets to make the belt. And then next part, which will be next week, because I don't think we'll have enough time to do it today, we'll make the shoulder pad, which sort of slots into the belt, so it's easier on the shoulder. That being said, now next week we'll have a little bit more time to actually design the shoulder pad properly. Just put the link there, people can copy and paste. I'm not seeing any links that you pasted though on chat. Oh, maybe I think it's the chat rules that. It's okay. I'll share it. I'll share it later. I think the chat doesn't let you put in links. That might be it. I will add the link to the Maker's Waffle in the description. So yeah, so next week we'll have a little bit more time to design the shoulder pad properly, pad it properly, make sure that it is one of the best stuff that we can make, so that we don't sort of hurry it up along. So we have Apisauri Atelier in chat. We have Skilltree in chat. It's good to see everyone joining and having, saying hi. Keep hydrated. Very important. It's very hot now. Okay, I think we can go get the belt from outside already. It's been about 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Shall we continue? Onwards. Indeed. We'll show them in just a second. The metal is hot. Yeah. The metal is actually hot. It's one of the reasons I really don't want to leave it outside for very long, because I don't want to cook the leather. You can actually cook the leather. Mix it. Sorry about that. Really, really tough. So let's swap over cameras. Okay, back to the in-process one, and I can feel that it's a little bit coldish to the touch, but it's definitely dry on the surface. It could do with a lot more drying. Yes, I know. As I said earlier, I will leave it to dry overnight, and it will sort of diffuse off the back, which is perfectly fine. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to be applying a resist, and the resist is going to darken our dyeing job, our paint job. So, excuse me? I still need to do it because otherwise it goes a little bit mute. If I don't apply it, so okay, so she asked, for those of you who couldn't hear her, whether I would like to compare the belt to the guitar to make sure that I need to have the resist on to see if I need to darken it. And the answer is whether I need to darken it or not, I need to apply a resist, because first of all, it protects the leather from a little bit of moisture. It does not make it waterproof, but it does protect a little bit from the elements. And secondly, it gives it this sort of semi-gloss, a bit of a silky sheen to the top layer, which otherwise goes very flat and very mute. I have, in fact, Minerva's, like the armor that I made for my dog. You can also feel the texture. It comes like a bit of a rough texture, and it may look slightly glistening on camera, but you can see that the saturation is lost. And if I want to really make this piece pop up again, I will apply resist to it. I've done it to my belts for Witcher School. I've done it to my bracers. At first I sort of skipped over the resist part because I thought it wouldn't be necessary. 6 months later, I went back and applied the resist, and the pieces look great till the day, till now. I made them like years ago now, like 2 years ago. Now, where is this one? Perfect. I need to apply a little bit of moisture to this paintbrush. It's best to apply the resist to a moistened paintbrush. Doesn't need to be dripping wet, just needs to be a little bit damp. Okay, perfect. I'll start with the smaller piece again. Just dip and apply a liberal amount, and you can immediately see that it darkens the piece and makes it really glossy because it still hasn't dried. We'll get to that in a bit. We'll apply resist to the longer piece, come back and wipe the excess of the smaller piece. Now this is a rubber kind of thing, so it will probably not dry as quickly as a dye. The dye that I use is a water-based dye, so water will evaporate fairly quickly, especially in the sun. This one will probably not, and it needs to set anyway. It will dry to the touch, so you can probably apply an antique on top of it. Ideally, you really let it sit. The best results I've had is when I let it sit overnight. Now, go back to the smaller piece, take a shop rag and buff off the excess. I will need to go back and reapply it. For sure, definitely. This one needs a reapplication. Okay. And I'm going to wipe off the excess of this. And the reason I'm wiping off the excess with a shop rag is to avoid brush marks. Because the best way to apply resist is through a critter gun, spray gun. Okay. That way you avoid brush marks. Also, you also start mopping up the excess, like excess which can end up in these holes and sort of gum them up, and you don't want that. Okay, so you can immediately see the difference, gives it a lot of life. Definitely highly recommend resisting or applying a finish. Atom wax, what is it called? There's a lot of products you can use. I prefer resist because it's the one I have. There's a friend of mine, Jordan from Texas. Well, a friend of mine, he's an acquaintance of mine, and he said that he got really good results using leather balm and atom wax, I think it's called. And he offered to sort of buy a couple of pieces, like a couple of tubs for me, or like a bottle or two, so I can check it out next time we go to Witcher School. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we couldn't, so I'll make sure to get that on hand next time. In Malta, it's very difficult to get what you need, at least for a reasonable price. Anyway, just wash the brush. we are done from the gloves as well. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, might be done a little bit earlier today. We've got 30 minutes left. All we need to do now is apply beeswax on the edge, burnish the edges, and put on the belt buckle. So accidentally took out an extra one. I'll have to weigh later. In the meantime, I'm going to need this soon, and I can start packing things up. A clean shop is a happy shop. You've never heard that? Huh? Yeah, it's very cheesy, yes, but Brett McAfee says it a lot, so yeah. He's not wrong though. I hate working in these these scraps. So yeah. In the meantime, just to let you know, I'm not just wasting time. I'm actually waiting for the the resist to set in a little bit. I don't think I will need to antique it for now. I can always go back and apply the antique later. I can do it very carefully and avoid the hardware, and this will be just fine. So I think it compares quite nicely, matches quite nicely with the guitar, which I can get the camera. Just a nice on. It's got a bit of it like a tiger's skin kind of thing. I think it matches more with the darker striations on the guitar. We'll see. If it's a little bit too light, as I said, I can go back and darken it very easily with a little bit of antique. Kind of tempted to do it now. Let's do it. Okay, well, I'm going to need some scraps of rags. Yes, I use these usually for antiquing. Oh, okay, so you've got glue stuck in this rag. It's dried off from last time, but yeah. I still use it. Remove the quartz, I don't want to stain that. Should have left the gloves on. Oh well. Okay, let's start with the smaller piece and then we'll go to the larger piece. We're going to antique it now, yeah. Togli pesci di stagibile pala, please. Meta col clan la testa. No need for it now. So, let us. Okay, antique. So the way we're going to apply antique is in a very delicate way. It's a very precise science. You just lob a lot on. It's not a science at all. You just lob it on. I'm actually going to be using quite a lot of antique. I need to make sure that all the parts are properly and adequately covered. Let it set for a little bit and then take another clean rag and just wipe off the excess. Wiping in one direction to make sure I've got even strokes, and comparing one to the other, you can see it is slightly darker. Just a little bit, just enough to give it a little bit more taste. And if I... Yes, that's definitely what we're looking for. Cool, that's definitely the color that we need to match. Okay, so we're just going to be repeating this process. Just applying gel antique. Okay. Even in the part where the buckle is going to sit. It's just good craftsmanship that way, I believe. Like directions always tell you to be like very gentle with the application of the gel antique. However, most crafters, most of their workers that I watch and follow, they never follow that advice, honestly, and they always like go overboard with the application of the antique. I mean, if you see like Dark Horse Workshop uses like a big glob of antique. He gets really good results, so I'm not arguing against his method at all. Thank you very much. I just need to clear up in a second. Okay. Now that these straps are properly and adequately antiqued, I just need to wait a few minutes until the sort of the antique sets a little bit. In the meantime, I am going to actually clear up the workbench from all the leather scraps. I'm going to keep the scrap good to test on. It's still good. Going to need the mallet soon. Rivets are here. Don't need that anymore. Okay. Cool. Okay, Chief. How's it going? Good. Okay. It's here. In the meantime, I could start burnishing using a hand burnishing tool, like a burnisher like this. I can use the drill press, which is set up behind the laptop, but that's a little bit noisy for stream purposes. And today we are going to be using my rotary tool. It's a Dremel. And I also have a nice Cocobolo burnisher, which just slots into the rotary tool and is just hand tightened, plugged in, and we can use it. Okay, but before we actually start to burnish, you could start now because the edges are quite damp. I like to apply a bit of beeswax. Okay, beeswax, it's not very expensive to come by, and you don't need to use a lot, just a little bit. What we're doing here with the friction is we are melting the beeswax, and by melting the beeswax we are sealing the pores of the leather, and it's like nice and shiny and all professional looking. Maybe.
You should turn on super chat when you do these. You can hear buy materials.
What's super chat? I don't know what super chat is. I wonder if it's something like for like verified YouTube members or whatever they call them. Super chat. Oh, is it the one where people can donate stuff, as in can donate money? I think if it is, I need to be a verified member of YouTube. Okay. I will look into super chat. I'll be honest. I'm not quite sure what it is. If it is the chat where people can sort of donate money, I would be very humbled and honored by it. But I don't think I can do that yet. Still driving towards 1,000 subs. Huh? Yeah, still driving towards 500. But yeah. Well, super is how you can receive donations. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'm going to lower the volume a little bit so you don't hear. It's not so bad though. It's not so bad. I think you can actually hear me over this. So, yeah. I've got it set at about 15 revs. Let's set it a little bit higher. A bit more than 15 revs. And what I'm going to be doing is very simply, yeah, let's use this one. I'm going to use the middle one, the middle notch. And I'm going to be burnishing Oh, I would really appreciate that. Okay, so you can see that from the burnishing, you can see that one side is a little, well, I don't know if it's very visible on camera, but this side is very light and rough looking, and this side is shiny. I think I'm overdoing it and pressing a little bit too hard. You just need to melt the beeswax. Just go around the whole piece. When you go around the whole piece, then you can, you know, to finish this task really. How many subs are we at, Chief? 10? We're at 420 subs. Yeah, got about 580 to go, but we'll get there. So I can't really show this process comfortably on camera. Let me just move it a little bit this way. It's a lot faster than any of the other methods that I usually use, but you know, it's useful. Now, one thing that I do is I always go then on the other side. So if I do it on this side, and I flip it over and do it on this side, because there's always a little bit of like bias introduced when holding an item, and you know, the angle you hold your tool. So it's not such a bad idea to go over it. I've done it on the other side already. And once that is done, I will also go with the hand burnisher. I'll see where there is a little bit of extra beeswax and just mat it out. Okay. Once that is done, I will take a piece of, I think this is wool, and just burnish the top. I think I cut myself on the rounding punch. Yeah, I did. That's fine. Excuse me? Nah, it's fine. I'll survive. I literally just nicked myself over there. Yeah, it's fine. You can also use the cloth to burnish as well. It's just I don't have the patience to do something so intensive, honestly. But that's one part. Let us burnish the second strap. Okay, it's a bit of a tedious process, but there's no other way to get these kinds of results. So there are a lot of like techniques you can use, not just for burnishing, for steps before burnishing. A lot of people also tend to do an edge coat, or an edge dye as well. They tend to dye their edges black. It makes them look quite nice, I'll be honest, but I prefer doing it this way. But there are special dedicated tools which you can use for edge coating your leather. Okay, we're almost done on this side at least. Huh? Like your dentist? We're almost done. I'm just pulling out 17 of your teeth. But trust me, it's a pleasant experience. You should come here more often. Yeah, I mean, that's my dentist always asks me, I wonder why you don't come here so often. I'm like, don't necessarily like big syringes in my mouth. Yeah. But dental hygiene is important, so. It is. Okay, let's do the last edge. It's not the most entertaining of work, nor is it the most fun to watch, I can imagine, but it it works. You can see the difference though. On this side, it's all nice and shiny and darkened. On this side, it is all rough. Um, Once you get into leather working, you'll know what I mean. It's the kind of craft, the kind of skill that the more work you put into it, the more your results will be. But you can start a project and finish it, like you can half-ass your way through it and you'll be fine. You get a decent project, really put in the work like any other craft really. Your results will really, really show. So effort. Quoting that fool, maximum effort. Wait, wait. Excuse me. Move this way. Okay, now on the opposite edge. Whew. Oh, we're almost done. We're almost done. The last edge, then buckle rivets, and we can try it on. Okay. What? Who? Oh. Yeah. Get that feeling when I watch your videos. By the way, your resin ring was amazing. Skill Tree's making. Sometimes he makes stuff from his D&D campaign, which is absolutely brilliant. He made the sword from his campaign was like a wooden sword with shark teeth on. If you haven't watched it yet, watch it. It's amazing. And the ring he recently made, it's got like a metal inlay in it. Amazing.
I could just have this on in the background while they work all day entertaining me.
I wouldn't mind doing this full time. I'll be honest. It's just there's some spots which are a little bit off, so I will go in with. Yeah, it's true. Kind of.
Do you think you say going to the aquarium with those machines, the slot machines that give you the?
No, he actually bought them. He bought. No, who would do that?
That's how I got my shark.
Trisha just asked Clever whether you actually got the shark teeth by going to an aquarium and putting like a quarter in those like slot machines that give you like a small ball with a shark tooth
Like
in
the
it.
little bubblegum
They're like the little bubblegum machines. Like, of course not. He just mass ordered them. Just bought a big pack.
Shark tooth is from the Bristol aquarium.
Yeah, we have. I actually have a shark tooth here.
That's the one from Bristol.
Yeah, it's the one from Bristol.
Ha! He said yes.
I call shenanigans. Okay, I think that is good. Let's just wipe off the excess wax from the side. Well, that strap fell. Huh? Hashtag pro, yeah. Only serious work here on Corso Workshop. We never mess up. Just gets rid of a little bit more excess beeswax. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so let me get the Jamel out of the way for now. Try to convince the divers and the tanks to let me enter. So I've been telling you for ages, kids would make a great dinner guest party. Dinner party guest. Dinner guest party. Dinner party guest. Okay, that, that, that. Cool, let's get this finished. So, we need this end and we need the... Oh, we haven't made tongues yet, but we can do that. Like next week. Okay, so for now we are going to be applying the post through the hole, which I think I might have to widen this slightly for the post to go through. Leather kind of shrinks a little bit after it dries, so it's good to keep in mind. So that is, let's get the other post here. This one goes in here. Okay, so this isn't going to be as easy as I thought because I don't have enough space to put the anvil on. But what I could do is flatten them on the back, which is fine. Okay, I just managed to get those there. I just need to put on the caps. I'll probably put them on using the tool anyway with a little bit of a whack from... Do I have a no, let's use this one. Okay, we flattened one at the back. Usually I try not to flatten them on the back, but it's fine in this case. Okay. The belt is a little bit stiff. That's fine. So now we can just put in the belt like this. Just need a tongue keeper around the back. That I'll probably do that off camera. Just a small piece of leather. Just tie it off. Okay. So we can try out the putting it on the guitar now. I think at this point it's best if I... Is Chief showing? Yes, Chief is showing. Chief doesn't like being on camera. Okay, so let's see. Maybe I can get it on camera. Strap. Actually, now that I think about it, I'd rather put this. Probably it's best to put the strap on while on the desk and on the workbench, rather than out in the air. Today I'm not really focusing properly on physics. I've been playing too much Minecraft. Okay, so now I think my brother would probably like to have the strap on this side, I think. There's Mihal about snorkeling trip 5 book. They didn't pay attention to the details. It was super advanced. They dropped us in the middle of the Pacific and shot. Wow.
Ma rifettillekx ta'
Trisha's saying, "Don't you dare!" It's warning me. It's super dangerous in the middle of the Pacific in shark-infested waters, 120 plus feet. Terrifying. Well, I mean, Mark Rober did it. Eh.
She was so mad. It was a great
Okay. I'm just hooking on this side. Okay. 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 Now please hold up. That's actually pretty good. It's got a nice, strong grip to it.
showing at all.
I know I'm not showing on camera, but it actually, I don't have a pick here, but
Can you tie it tighter?
yes, 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 it can go up like another 3 inches.
Okay,
Oh, and even go down another 3 inches. So this is right about the
but
middle.
she's taller, but
I think actually this is a little bit too low for me, to be honest.
There
But
was less of a belly than so.
thank you very much. Yes, I do have a bit of a belly. Shark were pretty chill. There was a feisty octopus though. Did you go to Japan? Shall we call Sean, see if he would like to? Let me see. Sean! Sean!
Yes.
اسمع تريد تيجي تراكي بجيت؟ Alright, he's coming. We're live. Janine? He's coming. Cool. Mela, okay. Alright, it's done. Okay, so he doesn't want to try it on live. But the strap works just fine. We still need to make the shoulder strap for it. The color came out really, really nice. I like the color. And I like it. I really like it. So next time we're going to make the shoulder strap and just swap cameras back again, so don't see the dirty towel. It was such a cool project to make. I really had fun. It was really funny watching the chat. So yeah, I think this was quite interesting. Again, part 2 is going to be held next week. We're going to be making a shoulder strap. Now that I have the time, I'm going to be making it out of vegetable tan leather, sheepskin leather, and padding as well. So it's like a nice cushioned piece of shoulder pad. And the leather dye, which Skilltree is asking for at the moment, it is a water-based dye. I got it from an Italian shop. I can leave the link, or I can tell you later on. It's Cuoio e pellami. It's in Italian. It means hides and leather, or leather and hides. Leather e-shop, I believe. Oh, just in time. Alarms are blaring. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned the shop.
It's clearly the time for the end of the show.
No, it's a water-based leather dye. It's a cognac or light brown leather dye. I had some mixed. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Had some mixed already, so I used the same batch that I did earlier. But I also put a resist on it, which darkens it, and also put an antique, which darkens it a little bit further. It came out quite nice. I like it. And I'm going to make a matching piece next week. So make sure to join us next week for on Sunday 11th July at 4 o'clock CET. That's Central European time. It's also Malta time. Yeah, what else? Yeah, if you'd like to see more of my projects, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. There's also, if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, there are some other videos you can watch, and I'm putting some videos up. Still working on content, still haven't gotten around. I'm still not happy with the video that has to go up next, so delays, as you can imagine. But I'm still making this live stream and a weekly thing, so yeah. I might have to skip it the week after. We'll see. Chief's birthday. Need to celebrate. Yeah. we'll see. So next week I'll see you over here on this live stream. Also keep in mind after this live stream there's the Makers Waffle with Andy Pugh and Jamie reading. Today they have Daniel Wood. Um, and next week they'll have me as a guest. So I'll be there. So make sure to join as well. Makers Waffle, don't forget. Thank you very much for watching. I am Kurt from Corso Workshop. It's been such a pleasure seeing all the people in chat. Thank you very much, Chief, for help coordinating this live stream. Thank you very much, Melissa from Apisauri Atelier and Clever from Skilltree for keeping the chat very lively and very entertaining. I hope that we can have another one very soon, and I'll see you next week. Take care, keep baking stuff, and stay safe. Bye bye.